pushing it, but look, Pokemotion riders coming through now. This is going to be nip and tuck on the line. Now to Claes putting under pressure. I think he's going to do it. It's 2.2 kilometres to go. Daniel Chess is starting. Is it cat and mouse? There's a little bit of a trail off the back now. He could be losing a few riders. Speedbar puts the pressure on. He's riding at 39 kilometres an hour on plus 1% grade.
Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Friday Frenzy. Have you missed it? I certainly have. These are such great races, and you've just seen some previews of some other fantastic races on ZMS. We'll talk about those later. So this is a new series, Series 4 of Friday Frenzy from Southborough District Wheelers. That's the SDW. In the previous series, they were using some of their local courses around Kent, Surrey area, which I know very well because that's sort of near where I'm from. This time, it's a new twist on the series. It's a 6-race series, so a short one, but each one is being co-presented with one of the other teams who've taken part in some of the series, teams that you'll be familiar with in other racing on RGT. So the first one is being presented tonight with stage 1 with Kings and Queens, which is a sort of Aussie New Zealand group who do quite a lot of events, do some really good training rides. They do some sort of lap circuits and things like that. And quite a few of them have been taking part in the event. So in the Friday Frenzy, as well as other things. And this one is in New Zealand, Henley Masters Circuit outside Dunedin city on the South Island of New Zealand. 18 kilometers and 70 meters climbing. And you'll just see there, we'll talk about the others, but you saw some previews of some of the other races that will be coming up with other teams like EKCD and Ratio. So there's the circuit that we're on tonight. Sort of a classic sort of circuit, really. A couple of little twists, couple of bends, yeah, not much climbing to speak of. You have to. I'm not sure exactly. We'll find out what distance each lap is, but I'm guessing it will be multiple laps. Normally, this circuit's about 1.5, 2 kilometers long. So we'll check the exact distance when we get in there, which is good. Depending on how long the circuit is, we may see people get lapped, but if you can keep in with a group, then you can stick with them around the circuit as they go around. Classic sort of crit racing. As I said, in the city of Dunedin. Yeah, so there we see some of the other races that are going to be coming up. So next week, with the Peddlers course in Bosnia, around Sarajevo. 3R doing a course in Australia, Melbourne Beach Road, famous. There's for a big ride, the Hell Ride that goes out on Melbourne Beach Road along St Kilda. Great part of the world. I've been down there. We have the French riders, Pano Racers, doing a race in France, ECKD, part of the big Danish contingent who are often in these races. No doubt we'll see some of them tonight. And finally, Ratio Racing doing a course, a double header. So not double headers. Doing 4 laps, 25 kilometers in Belgium. Sorry, I thought sometimes Simon has done some double headers in the Friday Frenzy, but none of that tonight. So there we go. That should be some great racing coming up in the South British Wheelers. Here are the lucky people that we have in the Zoom room tonight. If they're listening, give us a wave. There's Simon, the creator and brains behind this series. I know he has a bit of help, quite a lot of help from some of the other his club mates in South British Wheelers, but there he is proudly in the South British Wheelers jersey, the red, yellow and black. I see them out on my rides quite often. We've got Tim Cook. Tim, give us a wave, Tim, if you're listening. Oh, Sam's giving us a wave. Tim, I've ridden with Tim quite a lot in some of the TTT events and other races. Tim, very, very, very strong rider. Lots of watts Tim can put out. And Francis Lambert there. And we'll come back to him later. So we're about to start. 3 seconds. It'll be a fast start as always. So let's see how they go off the line. We're seeing a few names. They're all in the red there as we go charging off the line on the first of these laps. So who are our early pacemakers? Byron Harden. Now, Byron, I've been riding with Byron in a couple of the OTR, the Love TTTs. So I encouraged them to join up tonight, and Byron answered the call. So hey there, Byron. Well done. You've shown your face. Big call out to you. So who else have we got up front? I saw Simon Miller up the front there. We've got Barnett. We've got a few new names here. A few old names too. Paul Watmer there is a regular in some of these rides. Corin Hogg there, one of the Danish riders. A few Danish flags there showing up. I saw a Hogard. There was Francis Lambert, who is from Canada. I'm not sure who's riding. Henrik Mard there, very strong rider. So Barnett here, putting in some early pace, getting a bit of a gap. He's putting in some big watts there, staying at sort of 6 or 6 watts per kilo to get a bit of a gap. And we'll see if anybody from the bunch comes across. That always causes a big reaction. If you've ever done racing in bunches, always causes a big reaction in the bunch when somebody makes a big break, and then there's a sudden sort of stretching out as people try to get on the wheel. The pace hots up. One of the things you've really got to be alert for when you're in a bunch, and you hear it as much as you see it. You hear the increase, you hear the gears clicking, you hear people putting in effort as something stretches out. So it looks like they're stretching over now. It's eased off a little bit. I mean, still going up into 5 watts per kilo, but he had a couple of riders on his wheel, and it looks like the bunch is going to get on the wheel. So there's Simon on Facebook messages. Looking forward to a fast, flat one tonight. Look out for Tim Cook. Absolutely, yep. It's a good place to have an each-way bet on, certainly for Tim. I'm certain he'll be up there. So here's the data for Greg Barnett. So he's putting out a steady pool. He was putting out high 300s, 400 watts. What are we getting? 4.5 at 3.6. So that means he's probably about 80 kilos. He's in the South District Wheelers. So he's one of the SDW riders. So putting in a good show for the Southborough Club in this ride. The bunch has definitely caught them now. We've got Oram there. There's Ryan Miller, 3R coming up to the front now. Martin Oram there, A category, so he'll be a strong rider. Casper Headedam, saw Casper there. Casper is a very, very strong rider, and he made some great moves in the previous series, so he'll be another one to look out for today. Here we are, Marian Marichak, I think I'm pronouncing that sort of correctly, with if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to go for Slovakian, it could be Slovenian, I'm sorry if I've got that wrong. Flag, it's the resolution on the screen. Seriously, it does make it a bit hard to see when I'm, of course, looking at it through the stream. I know ZMS do these in HD, but of course it all depends on your local internet connection, and mine has its moments. So there's Marian Maracek on the front there, Tim Cook, as we said. So another little break forming now. This is really interesting that these riders are trying to get off the front and trying to create some gaps. I mean, it's really difficult on a flat course to create those sorts of gaps. If they can really put in some effort, if they want to make this, there's Tim. He doesn't even look like he's putting in effort, but I think that's Tim. I think he's such a strong rider. The bunch has caught him now, but it's worth making, some of those digs, worth trying to test out. As every time it happens, I think we see at the back there some riders off the back, and if they don't fall off the back, then they have to burn matches. And racing is all about, have you got more matches to burn than the other riders? So it's a good thing to do a bit of match burning, do a bit of testing, see what other people's legs are like, see who goes with you, and try and thin the field out. If you can make those attacks and end up with a field of maybe 8 to 10 rather than a field of 18 to 20, then again you've done a good job and you've increased your chance of getting a good place. And now we're seeing some of the riders who've come off the back of the bunch as it's going along. I mean, that's it's hard work once you're off the back, once you've lost a gap. So we're seeing here Maguire, Villalon, Stuart O'Grady, I think it is Stuart O'Grady, although maybe I'm saying that because of the Stuart O'Grady, and Christine there with the German flag, and another bunch even behind them, so a much bigger bunch at the back here. I think we lined up with about 50 riders on the start line, so this is towards the back. We've got a couple of Danish riders there, Sackman, Mathiasen, and others. So he's in the middle between that other bunch we saw and the lead pack, so Benetto with the British flag there, UK flag. So I think that is the first rider off the back of Matt Benetto. I think that's the first rider off the back. We can see the peloton all together, I think, still up the front there. And yep, there they are. So from 30 up to 1, unless there's anybody who's gone down the road. I don't think there has. Nope. So we've got a bunch of 30, which is a decent peloton, but what I'd expect on a flat course like this. If you can play it clever and stick in the bunch, then you get a good draft and you just get sucked along. So we're seeing a few of the Southborough District Wheelers riders up the front there. We saw Simon again up the front as we came there. We're seeing Tim going along at a nice steady pace now. And there's Francis there, also looking like he's got it pretty much under control. Oh, just unzipping the jersey a bit, get a bit of air. Yep. It's always hot on the turbo. I'm impressed that he wears a cap, and I'm also a cap wearer. I'm not much of I know it's a very bad thing these days to say, but I'm not much of a helmet rider when I can avoid it, and I always wear a nice cap. So I approve of the cap, Francis. It looked like a very nice cap too. Here's Casper Headedam towards the front of this bunch. Casper is a very, very strong rider. You can see him sticking up. He's came to the front once or twice, but he's just making sure that he sticks up there, make sure that he's close to the front to cover any moves, but get a bit of recovery, get a bit of draft. There's Henrik Mard, another very, very strong rider from Sweden. So he's tooling along there at about 400 watts per kilo, which is a bit over 5 watts per kilo. Sorry, 400 watts, which is a bit over 5 watts per kilo for Henrik. I don't think he was meaning to go off the front there, and as you can see, he's eased back. Sometimes you just overshoot when you're in the bunch, and you can easily just go off the front. Sometimes you overshoot a bit, and you make the most of it. We've seen that in a few of the classic rides in real life. Particularly happens with things like Milan San Remo or whatever. You get a little bit of a gap and so on, and you just make the most of it. So, bunch now going along. Here's Francis there, who we saw in the Zoom room. So now we're seeing him on screen here. So he's going along with a nice high 200s, 200 to 300 watts per kilo, and keeping a nice steady pace there, getting a bit of recovery. Good cadence, quite a high cadence there, 80, 90, high 90s cadence. People have different personal preferences for cadence. Personally, sort of 90-ish is a good cadence for me. Obviously, if you do any track riding, you tend to do bigger cadence. If you do triathlons, they tend to do lower cadence. Some people think lower cadence can help a lot if you get cramp. It's one of the things that they recommend, to go down to a lower gear if you're feeling a bit crampy when you're out on the bike. So we are now going to go to the split screen. So we're going to keep an eye on those riders. Oh, there's Rasmus Feldal. He is possibly the most dangerous rider. You don't want to let a move with Rasmus go. So as soon as Rasmus goes to the front, there will be an immediate reaction behind. And as we see there, Casper, Greg Barnett, a few of the others immediately covering that move from Rasmus. We saw in the previous series, is perfectly capable of attacking for a long way out and keeping a gap. And winning races in every style, from long range attacks to last minute big attacks. So Rasmus is one of the most dangerous riders here. So there he is putting out, putting a bit more red here, going up to over 400 watts per kilo. Sorry, 400 watts. I keep saying that. Sorry, 400 watts. So that's over 5 watts per kilo for Rasmus. Great cadence in the high 80s. Going along, and it's nice and flat, so they're doing good speed of about 43, 44 kilometers an hour. And Rasmus might be breaking up this group. I mean, he's keeping that attack going. That's the secret, especially with an attack on the flat. Once you get that bit of gap, you really have to keep it going. And even if a few people come with you, as I say, if you can narrow it down to a group of 7 or 8, then you've got nothing's easy in these races, but if you've got a group of 7 or 8, it's easier to attack from that group, because if you have a group of 20, then it just needs a few people to make an attack, to cover the wheels, and there's a draft of the people behind, and suddenly the group comes together. Whereas a group of 7 or 8, the gaps can appear a bit more easily. So Tim there looks like he's putting in a real effort. He's in that front group covering that attack by Rasmus, so Tim won't want to let that go. Francis there out of the saddle. They all look like they're doing a pretty hard effort now. Simon, couldn't quite catch where Simon was. Was he in that front group? Don't think he is. I think he might be back in the main bunch. So Simon there will have to either jump across or catch them. Tim, I'm pretty sure, is up in that front bunch. And Francis will check where he is too. Yeah, Tim is there 5th in that front bunch of looks like 6 riders. Greg Barnett looked like he was trying to bridge across, but hasn't been able to get across. So this group of 6 could be getting away now. Hiles there also just holding on to the edge. There's Simon. That attack has broken up the peloton as well, as the peloton increased speed, and Simon there has come off the back of the peloton. Still putting in a lot of effort. Quite high cadence there. He's trying to catch up. He's keeping on the wheels there. He's got a few people with him. If he can just get across to that rider ahead, is it Moss? Get on that wheel, Simon. Don't lose that wheel. Go on. It's a fellow clubmate. Go on, keep that wheel. Paul Watmer there, a very strong rider. If this group of 4 can stick together and put in a consistent effort, they might get back up to the peloton. And the peloton will probably calm down if they realise that the group of 6 is gone. But it's really a matter of not losing that gap. And Simon is keeping going. Come on, Simon. He's not going to let that gap go. Come on, Simon. 12 metres, 20 metres. Don't let that gap go. Mind that gap. Go on. Yeah, come on, guys. Go past. Get on their wheel. They've got to get back together if they're going to well, if they're going to regain the peloton, or at the very least form a decent group to stay within touching distance. So Simon's putting in the effort there. Oh, it's tantalizing. They're 14 meters, 15 meters from Moss and Haugaard, is it? Oh, go on, bridge that gap, push. The trick with these gaps is to really put in I know he's putting in a big effort. It's easy for me to say, but when you've got a gap, it's better to put in 400 watts, 500 watts for 20 seconds than 300 watts for a minute to try and bridge it. Come on, Simon, you're nearly there. 6 meters, 5 meters. Come on. Yes, he made it. He made it back up to that. Yep. Oh, and there's a decent bunch of South Radistic Wheelers guys there. So he's made it up. That was a great effort to bridge across to that gap. So we're now back to this front bunch. We've still got Casper, we've still got Tim up the front, we've got Oram. So they've regrouped, but the bunch is a lot smaller. We saw before with this attack, it was 30, and now I think we're looking back to Riley at 17. So that's really whittled down the bunch. Tim there will be, I think, getting a bit of recovery now before the next attack, before he thinks about making an attack. So Tim there safely in that bunch. He covered the attack by Rasmus Feldballer, made sure that he was up with them if they were going to get away. But it looks like the bunch has caught them, or the remnants of the bunch has caught them. Riley there, oh, he's just he was so close. He was up with the bunch, but he's just left a little gap of 5 or 6 meters, and that's going to be really hard for a single rider. Come on, he needs to put in a massive effort to get back on the wheels right now. Can't let that bunch get any further away. He's getting up there. He's getting onto the wheel. He's in the drafting zone now, and he's going to make it back. Whew, big effort there to get back from Riley from South Radistic Wheelers. So we'll still have at least one South Radistic Wheeler riders in the front. There is no, don't, it worries me. He's just letting that little gap go. Once you get back in that bunch, they've hit this little rise. So really bad timing. Bad timing. It's terrible when you just make that effort to get back and suddenly they hit a rise and you've got to keep making the effort, and it's been too much for Philip Riley. He made a great effort to get back on the bunch just before they hit that little, it's the only rise. That's all the climbing in the whole race, but it's terrible timing. You really needed to be back in the bunch and make recovery before we hit these slopes, going up to nearly 10% on this slope. So that's really slowed everybody down, and we're seeing a few people being spat out the back here. Cavelius, Pedersen and Riley. So that bunch now is down to 14. Mario Cavelius from Ratio Racing there with the RGT No War Ukraine supporting flag, which many people are proudly wearing. So here we go back to Warren Gardner, not Gardner Warren, he's changed his name, but it's Warren Gardner, who I think in the previous series, was the top finishing South Radistic Wheelers. So there are local bragging rights in these races for the South Radistic Wheelers riders. So a few gaps appearing as we come down the slope. So those gaps would have been appearing on the slope as we came up, and obviously as they come over and picked up speed up to 45, 50 kilometers an hour going down the other side, the gaps have stretched out very suddenly. So Francis there has done a good job. He's in the top 10. He's 10th now. He's with a group of riders. I think they will get back to this front bunch. I don't think the front bunch has got anything particularly, they're not being particularly active or doing anything particularly hot at the moment. So Francis has a chance with Keeble and Ryan Miller from 3R. They've got a chance to get back up here, get back in the bunch and get a bit of recovery, but they do have to bridge that gap. It's 25, 30 meters. That's a decent gap. You don't want it to get any bigger, or it just gets harder and harder to get across. So big effort needed to get back into the bunch now. So Simon there's still making good effort. Tim Cook still up in the front. And who are we seeing we're seeing some of the riders down the back here. Yep, so here's Oram, who we had seen up the front list. There's another Oram and Elliot in 47th, 48th. So that's getting towards the back. There's someone behind them, Ben Horenbeck. So we're going to work our way up through the field, it looks like now. So Soholt here, one of the Danish contingent. Petrovsky with, I think, a Macedonian flag, if I'm not mistaken, of the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia, as I believe it might be called. Here's Rice from South Radistic Wheelers. Suckman, the Danish flag. It's an interesting jersey. Bart there looks like one of the, yes, is one of the female riders. Swedish flag, but South District Wheelers jersey, and they're just hitting this. They're on the that slope there, so actually it goes up to 11%. It's quite a tough one in the middle of a race. The Truvos, Sebastian in front, and Truvos, Greek flag. Benetto, who we saw trying to bridge that gap before, and Lightfoot now going across the climb. Good news is, once you're across that climb, it's pretty flat for the rest, and there's 7 kilometres, 5 kilometres for the front bunch, 7 kilometres from that gap, which it looks like most of the, sorry, from that downhill. So it looks like most of the riders are now just cresting or over that little bump. So now where are we with the front bunch? So I can see Hiles at the back there in 13th place. So it looks like now we've got a bunch of 12 up front. And here's Henrik Mard putting in another attack. So he's going up to, yep, putting in a decent attack, 5 watts per kilo. We'll see who answers him there, who can, whether the bunch will catch up or whether some of the riders will take another opportunity. You know, the classic counterpunch in the racing is to get onto the wheel, have a quick breather, and then attack again. Hopefully the person that you've just caught has expended their energy and they can't go with you, and then you use sort of slingshot past them and put in an attack to go past. But Henrik Mard there, I'm sure he'll be alive to any threats like that. So easing back now, sort of 300, yeah, a little bit of effort there to make sure he's still on the wheel. So make sure he still stays up front in case there's any attacks. And there's Warren Gardner. He made it back into that bunch. Well done, Warren. And so did Francis Lambert. So that little group that had a 20-30 meter gap off the top of the downhill looks like they've made it safely back in. So we've got a nice bunch of 11. And there's Byron again. Wow, well done, Byron. He's in 12th. So he's at the head of just a group of 2 with Hiles. So Byron may have, actually, I may have missed him. Don't always see all the names. So Byron, it looks like he may have been in that front bunch for quite a while. So well done to him for staying in that bunch. Possibly just got gapped as we went over the, yep, there's Byron Harden and Hiles there. So they're in a little group together. Cowper looks like he's a fair way behind them. So Hiles and Harden may be able to just ride together to the end here and keep a decent placing. And there are points go all the way, quite a long way down in the scoring system that South District Wheelers uses. And of course it's a series of 6 with your best 5, so it's worth fighting for places all the way, as we see these riders at the back here. So there's Mike 80 and Maguire there in 27th and 28th place. I'll have to look it up exactly how far the points go down, but it does go down quite a way. In the I think it's the US crits, it starts with like 200 points for first, and then 190, 180, and then it goes down in sort of 5-point intervals, so you can get points quite a way down. Here's Ryan Miller now. He was he's been in that front bunch all the time. We haven't seen him particularly active. He's been covering the attacks, and is he making a little bit of attack, or is he just going off front? I mean, it's a difficult time to make an attack. 3 kilometers remaining. Yeah, I think he's just doing a steady pace. So it's 3. Sorry, Rob Miller. Why did I say Ryan Miller? There is a Ryan Miller as well, but Rob Miller, of course, who I've also been riding with in the TTC. Sorry, Rob, for not recognising you, but I've also had Ryan Miller in my head because he's been riding in some of the TTTs. Here we see Rasmus Feldballer. This is a classic Rasmus move. Got 3 kilometers left. He's strong enough to do it. So, nearly 50 kilometers an hour. It's only going to be sort of under 5 minutes. It's a 4 or 5 minute effort for Rasmus from here to the end. Will they make a big attack? And the problem is, if you catch up to Rasmus, if you make the moves to catch up to Rasmus, then the others will come past you. So Rasmus could have made, this is just classic Rasmus. I think the riders behind him have just said, no, it's Rasmus, let him go. Henrik there is doing a decent effort, but I don't think anyone there is seriously chasing Rasmus. They've given up with 2 kilometers remaining. I think they've handed it over to Rasmus. He's certainly got the power to be able to keep something like this the whole way, and we're seeing a gap appearing very quickly. There's one. I think the others have decided to fight it out for second place by the looks of it. There's no serious attempt to catch Rasmus. So Tim there still putting in effort. Francis they're putting in effort, but they don't look like they're trying to chase down Rasmus. So it looks like we're going to have a race for second place there. So we're seeing Rob Miller there and Tim Cook behind, Keeble, Lambert, Oram, Headed-Arm, Warren Gardner, and Simons and Barnett. So it looks like we'll have a sort of 10-man race for second place. I mean, they've got Rasmus in their sights, but I've said that many times before, and Rasmus has a pretty great ability to be able to keep that power. He knows what he can do, and he wouldn't have made this attack without knowing that he can keep that going. The question is, can somebody do more? Really, Rasmus will keep it going for the next 1.2 kilometers. He knows he can do that. Can somebody else put in a bigger effort to catch up with him? So we're seeing some of the riders now back in the 20s. So there's groups all over the race place now, but the action is definitely at the front. Here's Warren putting in an effort with a kilometre to go. And I think we're probably going to stick with this bunch as we come towards the end. So they'll be coming under, they've come under the red flag, the Flamme Rouge. They're positioning themselves. Warren is putting in an effort on the front, but he doesn't want to do too much too soon. There's Rasmus. Yep, his way. He's still got a gap of 130 metres. They're not going to make that up in the next 700 metres. So it's definitely a race for second place. So there's Rob and Tim from the 3R team, who have ridden with quite a lot in TTTs. Rob is a very good rider. Tim has the big watts. So we'll see who does well. Tim did very well in the last series as well. So I think Tim will put in, he's lurking back there in 8th place. He'll be waiting to put in some big power as we come up to the line. So we'll see who's got the bigger sprint. Castro has a decent sprint as well. Rob also has a good sprint. So it's going to be an interesting race for second place. Rasmus now, what have we got? 300 to this group, 350. Rasmus 130 ahead. So he'll be crossing the line now in 160 metres. A great effort, perfectly timed attack. So if anyone was wondering whether Rasmus was going to come into this series in form, I think we have safely answered that question. Rasmus Feldballer takes the first of the South of District. Here Oram putting in a big attack now with Lambert on his wheel. Well done, Francis. And Warren Gardner behind in 4th. Great result for Warren. Tim Cook taking 5th place there. Keeble, Barnett in 7th. Simons, Headed-Arm. Henrik Mard, who we saw really being quite active, getting 10th place, and Rob Miller comes in at the back of that group in 11th. So now we're seeing Byron and Hiles, who've managed to stay together and keep themselves away from anyone chasing. So they'll be fighting it out for 12th and 13th position. So there's confirmation of the first 11 in that group as our next two come across the line. Are they positioning themselves? Byron's going for it. Yeah, Byron does have a very strong sprint. I know this from having ridden with him, so I'm not surprised there. Byron putting in a big effort there and getting a very quick 20-30 metre gap. Hiles there, happy to take 13th place there. And now we're seeing some of the riders in the group behind. Here's Moss and Pedersen putting in a long-range effort there. Moss still got, 160 metres to go. I think he's going to get caught by Kalpa. Probably went a little bit too soon. He's going to get caught. Oh, yes, pipped on the line. Very good timing there from Kalpa to pip Moss as they came across the line. Who was behind them? Pedersen, Philip Riley, Howgard were in that group as well. Baggy, another of the South District Wheelers riders. Tom Hiles there. Over time, hopefully I'll keep doing these races as we keep going if Damon asks me back, and we get to know people. It's one of the great things about the series. You get to know people as they go through the series. So here's Daniel there from with the Brazilian flag, taking 23rd place ahead of Paul Watmer there. Another small bunch coming in, and Fix there, the German flag, coming at the line there in 25th place. So Rob Burton, great coverage, guys. Kicking myself for not planning better and being in the race. Absolutely, Rob, absolutely. I mean, was on some of the series. It didn't get a huge amount of publicity, but hopefully once people start posting results, and I mean, yeah, to some extent, it's the way Facebook works. You know, when people engage with things, it gets promoted. So as people get results, it will be a bit more visible, and maybe we'll get some more riders coming in as we go through. So Fix there crossing in 25th place, which will be about halfway down the field. Here's a couple of more. 3 more coming in. So Weston with the South District Wheelers tag there. Maguire putting in a big effort there. Oh, look at that cadence. Looks like he's grinding out some big gears there. And Mike 80 is going to tag on the back of Weston. Still got a bit to go, 200 metres. A big effort now. Could see him get past Maguire, I think. Maguire fading fast, putting in that big effort early for a long one, but faded fast, and Mike 80 makes a very well-timed attack, goodly timed attack ahead of Weston, and Maguire, who made the early effort in that bunch, comes in behind 80 and Weston. So here we go with Villalon with the Spanish flag, and Mathiasen crossing the line there, not contesting it too seriously. Lee there, yeah, come on, you've got to fight for your places. O'Grady, Corin Hogg, more, they're crossing thick and fast now. Kolvik, SEC, not sure what that is standing for, but perhaps somebody will explain it to me, or I'll find out at some point. I mean, sometimes people have, D and C. There's a couple there, SEC on the Danish. It must be a Danish thing. So yeah, C and D normally relates the category. If it's a W, it means women. And in this series, there are different categories. There's an open category. There's category rankings for women riders. There's a category for, I think, over 45s, if I remember correctly, not just over 40s. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe Simon's 46. Here's Benetto here, Matt Benetto, putting in a big effort to come in ahead of his bunch here in 36th place. So yeah, it's worth it, even if you're not up there in the overall during a race. It's always worth putting in effort, because you never know if one of these people are competing against you in one of the subcategories, and you might be able to get some points on them, whether it's an age category or other categories. So here we go, we've got 39, 40 and 41. So Lacassen and Truvos and Sebastian, the French flag coming in. Yeah, putting in a bit of effort. Go on, guys. Yep. So the Truvos and Lacassen fighting it out there, and Sebastian coming behind. So Petrovsky here with the Macedonian flag in 42nd place. Yeah, it was Stuart O'Grady. I was wondering if I'd misremembered, because Stuart O'Grady, for those who remember, was a very well-known Aussie rider, great sprinter, winner of the Green Jersey in the Tour on many occasions, and also winner of a very memorable Paris-Roubaix, which will be on this weekend. Highly recommend watching Paris-Roubaix, my favourite race of the year. I remember O'Grady's Paris-Roubaix was a very, very dusty one, and he came away just coated in dust. So here we go. Bartha there, one of the female riders. First one I've seen crossing the line with the W. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's the first woman. There could be others. And Rice there with the South District Wheelers. It could just be Bartha is the first one who's got the annotation to her name. But well done, Bartha. If you are indeed the first woman. It doesn't look like we've had a lot of female riders signing up for tonight. Hopefully we'll get more. We do always have a few, and in fact I'm slightly surprised Linda, who's one of the main movers behind Kings and Queens, has done some of the South District Wheelers races before, and I thought she would have been here, given that it's sort of their local event. But then again, it is, I think, just coming up to 6 o'clock in the morning in New Zealand, and probably similar in Australia. So maybe that's the good excuse. Yeah, Julia Barter there. Sorry, just having a sip of tea to refresh myself. So we're coming down to the last riders now. Yep, these are the final riders. So we've got Soholt, Danish, couple of Danish riders there. Soholt, Oram, and Rice now crossing the line. And these will be our last riders. So 48 riders finishing. That's a pretty good start for what promises to be a really interesting series. And we'll have a quick look at next week's races and then let you get on with your Friday nights or your weekends if you've already started that. So what have they got to go? So they've got just under a kilometre to go now, so we'll watch them cross the line. One of the good things about a flat course like this is it stays relatively compact, so not too many gaps. I'm sure we'll go back. I mean, what has it been, about 5-6 minutes between the front riders crossing, whereas on a climb you get much bigger gaps tend to appear, and often it takes quite a while for us to wait for the riders to come across. But we like to wait for all the riders because, you know, it's everyone rides for themselves. If you're not up the front, you're still riding against other people, especially if you're riding in a series. You do tend to get to know the people who are your sort of peers, who you ride about the same level, and so it becomes a competition against them. And also, I think for the organisers, as someone who organises races virtually and in real life myself, it's great to have the winners, but it's also great to have the people down the bottom who turn up and do the races because, you know, they're doing it because they enjoy it. And as an organiser, that's the main thing that you want from your races. So about 300, just under 400 metres to go now for Elliot, Oram and Soholt. And will they fight it out to see who avoids the wooden spoon? I'm not sure if that's an English expression. Wooden spoon is what we say to somebody who gets who gets last place in a competition. So Soholt there winding up. Yeah, they're going to wind it up. Go on. All three of them in the red now. Who's going to cross the line? Soholt, Elliot, Oram. Soholt goes to the front. Oram looks fading. Elliot going to the front. Oram putting in the last effort. Oh, but it looks like, yep, Elliot, Soholt and Oram crossing the line there to finish off the racing. 48 riders finishing in this fantastic first series. So that's our next week's race in Sarajevo, 21.7 kilometers, 162 meters. Going around, the mountains outside Sarajevo, and looks like a bit of a windy. There's a nice straight bit there, and finishing. So it's not a circuit course; it's a point-to-point course, single point-to-point. So going out to the outskirts of Sarajevo, 21.7 kilometers, a little bit more climbing. It's 162 meters, so about twice what we had tonight. But again, looks like a relatively flat course, so one that will suit the power riders. No doubt we'll see Tim, Rasmus, Henrik, and Rob coming up with another great race for us next week. So that's all we have for you. Obviously, there's lots of other great racing on ZMS during the week. You'll have seen various things. There's the West London VR racing, which is on Wednesday or every other Wednesday. I'm not sure if there's one this week. And one of the great things coming up, which I think is coming up this week, is the finals of the Love TTT, the OTR TTT format, in which Damon from ZMS gets video of all the riders, all the teams doing their thing during the week, and puts them together in a virtual head-to-head. It's a fantastic format. It's fantastic to watch them doing those races and see how it unfolds. Even though they're not actually racing live, it's as if they are live. And I've commentated on one or two of them, and I've watched them as well. And hopefully in the next series, my team will be up there competing in that fantastic format. So it's a great format, and it's a great way to present it. So well done to Jim Ogilvy and Damon on the Love TTT. So I think that's where we are for this week. I say the results will be on RGTVB, and also if you check out Facebook user pages, Simon is usually pretty quick at putting up the results for the week's racing, and each week it gets added to, and we see who goes to the head over the series. So that's all we have for now. I hope you've got some good riding lined up for you on the weekend. And because we're coming up to Easter, so time for more. It's getting slightly better weather in the UK and Europe. So if you're getting out, stay safe If you're riding indoors, there's lots of great riding and groups on RGT, and I hope to see you around. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Bye for now.